Have you ever just sat back and wondered what makes the websites you use every day feel so, well, alive? In this quick explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on the magic that powers every click, every scroll, and every cool thing you see online. Let's jump in.
Seriously, think about it for a second. You hit a like button, a menu instantly drops down, or you get an error message on a form, and the whole page doesn't do that annoying white flash and reload. How in the world does that happen? Well, it turns out there's some powerful tech working behind the scenes, and it's running in your browser at this very moment.
The secret is something called client-side scripting. Now that sounds super technical, but the idea is actually really simple. It just means the code making the page interactive is running on your computer, the client, and not on some server miles away. That's what gives you that awesome, snappy, instantaneous feeling. And the undisputed king of client-side scripting is what we're here to talk about.
So, let's properly introduce the powerhouse behind pretty much every modern interactive website you have ever used, JavaScript.
Okay, so what is it, really? The easiest way to think about it is that JavaScript gives a website its personality. You know, if HTML is the skeleton that gives a site structure, and CSS is the clothing that gives it style, then JavaScript, it's the nervous system. It's what makes everything move and react.
And the cool part is, JavaScript isn't off in its own little world. It's written right inside the same HTML files that build the page. It's woven directly into the fabric of the website, just waiting to spring into action to handle a click, check a form, or create a cool animation. It truly is the behavior layer of the web.
All right, to really understand how JavaScript works its magic, we need to look at its two most basic tools, how it remembers things and how it, well, does things.
First up, we have variables. And honestly, the concept is incredibly simple. A variable is just a container, like a little labeled box where you can stick a piece of data. You give the box a name, like username, and you put a value inside, like Alex. Now your script can just use the name username anytime it needs to remember that piece of information. Now we have a couple of ways to make these boxes. You can think of let as being like a whiteboard. You can update or erase what's inside it later. But if you have something that should absolutely never, ever change, like a person's birthday, you use const. That's like carving the information in stone. It's a simple choice that helps developers write much safer code.
So, if variables are for storing information, functions are for doing things with it. A function is basically just a set of instructions that you give a name. Instead of writing the same lines of code over and over again, you just package it all up into a function, kind of like a recipe, and then you can just call its name whenever you need to get that job done.
And here's a perfect, simple example. This function is called add. It takes two numbers, a and b, as its ingredients, and the recipe is super simple. Just add them together and give back the result. Now, anywhere else in our code, we can just say add 510 and instantly get 15. No need to rewrite the logic. It's just incredibly efficient.
Okay, so we can store data and we can perform actions. But the real power, the real magic, comes when a script can start making decisions all on its own. So, how does it think?
The most basic way it does this is with an if-else statement. It works exactly like it sounds. You just ask a true or false question. If a condition is true, like a student's marks are 60 or above, the script does one thing. Else, meaning if the condition is false, it does something different. This is literally the foundation of logic in all of programming.
Making decisions is awesome for one-time choices, but what about repetitive stuff? I mean, you wouldn't want to write 1,000 if statements to check every item on a long list, right? There has to be a better way.
And of course there is. It's called a loop. A for loop is built for doing things over and over again. You just give it 3 simple instructions: where to start counting, in this case at 1, where to stop at 5, and how to count, by adding 1 each time. Then you just let it do its thing.
And bam! The result is exactly what you'd expect. The code inside the loop just runs 5 times, and the counter updates itself on each pass. Now just imagine using this for thousands of products in an online store. A loop makes that totally effortless.
Okay, so we have variables, we have functions, conditions, and loops. But how do these abstract programming ideas actually change what we see on a web page? This is the final and most important piece of the puzzle.
Let me introduce you to the DOM. It stands for Document Object Model. You know, when your browser loads up a web page, it secretly creates a map of the entire HTML structure, kind of like a big family tree. That map is the DOM, and it's the critical bridge that allows JavaScript to see and talk to the web page.
So let's quickly trace how that works. The browser takes your plain old HTML code and totally transforms it. The document itself becomes the root of this tree. Every single HTML tag, like a heading or a paragraph, becomes a branch, and the text inside becomes a tiny leaf at the end. Suddenly, JavaScript has a perfectly organized map to find anything on the page. And this right here is the whole point. Using the DOM, your JavaScript code can walk through this tree, find a specific button or a headline, and do literally anything to it. Change the words, change the color, make it disappear, or even create brand new elements out of thin air.
And here it is. This is the magic in action. This one line of code is the answer to our very first question. In plain English, it's saying, hey document, go find the element with the ID of demo, and then change what's inside it to say new text. And just like that, the page updates. Instantly. No reload required. That's the trick.
So let's put it all together real quick. We use variables to hold on to our data. We package our code into reusable functions. We use conditions to make smart decisions and loops to repeat actions. And then the grand finale, we use the DOM to actually manipulate the live web page. These are the fundamental building blocks of everything you see happen on the web.
Honestly, from a simple button that changes color all the way up to a super complex data chart, everything interactive is built with these same basic tools. So, now that you know the secrets, the only real question left is, what will you build?